Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome back to another Nova Aetas Renaissance expansion pack. This is for Mediceo. So this is a brand new hero we get to play. There's also going to be some Black Rose Wars crossover, which we'll look at the end. We'll go through the Nova Aetas stuff first. So yeah, it's going to get us a new miniature, and then we're going to have our heroes, skill sheets, are all the different cards you need to do. And you can mix and match them as you like. We'll also have a companion card. So in case you don't want to play as him fully, you can just add him in there as well. If you watched all the other previous videos where I've talked about the stretch goals and the other characters, I kind of mentioned all the everything after the core set are kind of like a mixture of the core set characters. And I have to feel like he's a hunter, so I think he kind of falls into a combination of the rogue scout class, which Sophia was, and Viencio's like Knight Squire class, but where we had the assassin with Elker, who was more rogue, like sneaking around doing stuff and then doing some damage. I think he's almost the other direction. I think he's gonna be more of like kind of like the Knight Guardian type character, with like the rogue elements mixed in. So we'll kind of see how that works. So yeah, here's a little bit of a backstory we do want to read right here. It says, the most renowned mercenary in Florence joined in your Routier company. The Mediceo and his mysterious little companion are fleeing from the sources of the Medicei, the powerful noble family, who used to hire the mercenary for the most delicate and dangerous of tasks. The duo will be a valuable addition to your group. Will you help them unveil the secrets behind the little fawn who the Mediceo refused to abandon? The Mediceo. So yeah, interesting. So if you don't know this, if you haven't figured this out, this is an obvious portrayal of the Mandalorian from Star Wars universe, and that's supposed to be a little Gru there. But it's cool. They had like it fits into the theming of it, like a warrior, hunter, knight character, resting a little fawn character. So what are we going to get? We are going to get our miniature, our activation token, our 4 skill sheets, basically, our starting equipment, our advanced equipment, inspiration card, which we'll see what that does, gadget cards, he has some extra new stuff, 6 destiny cards, companion cards, plus an additional blessed and shielded token for him. I will go over all the different stuff in the game except the destiny cards. They do kind of tell the story. I think those could kind of be still saved off as a spoiler if you don't want them. Most of the other expansions, I show off everything so you know, but this doesn't actually add any gameplay, it just adds story. So I don't really want to spoil the story in case you'd like to pick him up and see what his story is. On the back side here, we have the Rebirth, with the mage card and their personal spell, which we'll look at that as well. But let's take a look at what Mediceo brings to us. So there he is with his little fawn. I don't know if he even has a name, or they haven't said it. So there's his miniature. I'm going to scooch these off to the side, see if we can get a little bit better focus on this. Yeah. So he's got like a big kind of blunderbussy type pistol. Yeah, the big helmet, which definitely they need. Look at the size of his rifle, with a scope on it. So yeah, definitely a hunter. So he should hopefully be doing a bunch of like ranged damage. It's kind of nice because like right, we do have, and now he's on the floor. We do have like we had Fatima, who was the rogue character, so she did have like some archery and bows. And then like Sophia, even as being the rogue scout character, she could throw her daggers. Yeah, it'd be nice to have maybe someone else with like another longer ranged attack, in case you don't want just melee characters, or you want a different option. Some more snipering. Alright, so let's see what his stuff does here. So in his green side, we're gonna have 3 psych, 3 physical, 1 psychic. So he can become a custodian or a guardian. So it's going to be very interesting, different kind of class names. He can use 2 blue skills, which is 2 and start off with, and then you can have 1 of his 2 pink. So what does actual skills do for us? We have Focused Shot, immediate, +1 any upgrade. This attack gains crit bleed, inspired. You may reroll this attack You may use reroll for this attack. You must keep the new result. Interesting. So you can automatically reroll it. Shield of Force. Reaction 1. When you perform a defense test against any attack, you gain 1 additional success for each moon obtained. Inspired. You may reroll for this defense test. You must keep the new result. So I haven't. Oh, okay. But actually, Inspired does not have to do with his extra little card. So we'll see how that works when we get to there. He has Survivor. When you perform a defense test against a physical attack, in any case, you rolls 1 additional die. And then Inspired instead, all the enemies you suffer -1, and all attacks that target you to a minimum of 1. So it's basically you have a potential chance to dodge better, or just reduce all their attacks by 1. Which rolling the extra die is definitely great, but it's only going to prevent 1 damage anyhow. Gunsmith. Pay 1, place a lucky token on one of your weapons or a weapon a hero adjacent to you. Relentless. Reaction 1. When you gain negative status tokens, suffer 1 unblockable damage, and discard your newly gained negative status token. Inspired. Instead, discard newly gained status token. That's cool, right? So you can basically just be like, I can't afford to have a hindered token or a stunned token or whatever this turn. Or a negative damage disadvantage token. So I'm just going to spend a point of damage and get rid of it. And then Disengage. Pay 2 to gain 1 dash. The movement does not cause reaction attacks. You can use this skill maximum once per activation. Alright, so he doesn't have a lot of attacks. So really what he's going to have in here, he has his big main attack where you can shoot someone. Everything else is basically just about him being able to take damage and survive. Lucky to reroll stuff, avoiding damage, rerolling dice. So he just wants to be able to keep himself alive. Then he has passive, so he gets +1 for each time you become inspired. And then he has pay 3, discard all negative status tokens, gain a shielded token and an advantage token, and then place an advantage token on one of your weapons. So he basically just gains all this stuff. So we do have this. It said he had a blessed token, but he doesn't. Instead, we have a reload token. So he gave us a reload token and a shielded token instead of a blessed one. But you should have enough in the core box, so it shouldn't be a big deal. Alright, he can upgrade. We're going to have him upgrade to the blue side first, which is his custodian side. So here he gets to get rid of one of his pink, but he can have an extra green, so a little bit more movement. So I'm going to guess this is going to be more of a, instead of him protecting himself, he's protecting other people, possibly. Interesting. So he has the Force. So again, very Star Wars reference there. You may equip spells of any school, but you can use your effects only if you're inspired. While you are inspired, you gain -1 psych and physical, but you gain 2 mental reaction. After using a spell this turn, the inspiration card over to sleeping side. So okay, so it's gonna be kind of like an off and on effect. Lethal melee. Reaction 1. When enemy adjacent to you puts 1 damage, you put 1 unblockable damage to that enemy. Focus. Pay 1. Reroll among those used to perform a psychic attack test. You must keep the new result inspired. You may roll an additional reroll. Rest cycle. When you discard a shielded token, if you're not inspired, you become inspired. Bastion of Force. Reaction 2. You may use the activation value to perform the defense test against an attack. Inspired, gain an additional check for each sun obtained. Strong Bond. Each time another hero within 3 range of you suffers 1 or more damage, you may suffer 1 damage in their place. And Defensive Disengage. Pay 2, gain 1 dash if you have no adjacent enemies. After you move, gain 1 shielded. You can maximum once per turn. Interesting. So, like, this one's adding in, basically just some more defense, right? He can reroll some test results, inflict damage back to characters. But the whole big thing here is he's got the ability to use the Force to actually use any different inspired stuff, but not all the time. His signature is Trance, +1 each time you become inspired. Pay 3 and 3 times perform this attack. So it's a spell that does 1 to 5 range. And if it hits, it does 5 damage. That's pretty nice. That's pretty cool. That's definitely a different way to play a character. It's basically supposed to be like the little fawn character is doing all the damage. It's helping out and doing a lot of stuff and casting the spells is the idea of it. Otherwise, he can become a guardian, which I believe now is going to become a little bit more, even more protective. And there he gains an extra attack and an extra paint. So he loses the movement and kind of the defensive abilities to go a little bit more on the offensive side. So he has the Way. Intimidate, gain plus or pay +1, upgrade this attack, gains mark. Inspired, when you use a skill, you gain 1 psych. Kinetic shot. Pay 1, upgrade. If the target suffers at least 2 damage, they must perform a forced movement of 2 squares, so they end their movement. End of this movement, they are the furthest away from you. Inspired, you may reroll this attack, you must keep the new result. Repairer. Pay 2 and discard 1 damage from one of your equipment. Ooh, that's nice. Mechanical Prodigy. Pay 3, place a blessed token on one of your weapons or a weapon of adjacent hero. Installer. Reaction to a hero within 2 range can use one of the gadgets until the end of their activation. And Swift Disengage. Pay 1, you gain the dash. This movement does not cause reactions to attack. You can use this skill once per activation. So I just built it away. His special is Hard to Die. Each time you inflict at least 2 damage with a single attack. And then pay 4 and discard all damage on your hero sheet and your equipment. And all negative stats. So heal. Oh, that's pretty crazy. So one big difference here from his other sizes. If you go the Custodian side, he uses a lot more of the Guardian stuff. And here he's not. But I think also the trade-off is going to be is here he's going to have gadgets. So you have a special gadget deck. It's basically either you use the Custodian side using the little fawn guy, and he can cast all his extra magical spells. Or you switch to the Guardian side, and you're going to get to use a bunch of new equipment type of things. So what do his equipment itself look like? So we have his basic stuff. He has the Da Vinci rifle. Does 2 to 6, has pierce and reload 2. It has a little gadgety symbol on there, so we'll have to see exactly what that does. Then he has the little one. The inspiration card begins its mission on sweeping side. So, he gains an extra little inspiration card, which goes next to him. Which then says, when you obtain 2 suns as a result of any test, turn this card over to its inspired side. And if you get that, it flips it over and he wakes up. It's kind of cute. When you use the inspired side effect, still turn this card over to its sweeping side. So yeah, so it's basically going to be going back and forth every time you roll 2, so if you can get a guy that has Astro, can give you Astro tokens, that's going to definitely help out. So just some little rules here. Every time a player controlling gains 2 Astro sun symbols during their test, they flip the card to an inspired token. The player can discard Astro tokens as usual in order to obtain this combination. As long as the inspired status card is up, the player controlling the medical can choose to use the inspired effects of their skills after using the inspired step, flip it over. So yeah, having a lot of them is really cool. It gives you more options. You have more stuff you can inspire, but he's only going to be able to use it every so often. And then he has his Mediceo armor, which has resistance 1. Then if we upgrade him to the Custodian in blue, he has the Training Ball. Pay 2, place an advantage token on one of your equipments of a weapon or spell type. The Sword of the Force, which is the Dark Saber. Reaction 2, perform the following attack. Damage at 1 does lethal with a moon. And then Hidden Wings, which is a jetpack. It's just a neat way to do that. Climb 1, pay 2, you must perform exactly 3 dashes, ignoring scenery, elements, and models. You must end the movement in available space. So interesting. So he moves forward, but he has to keep going. And then if we chose the Guardian in the red, we have Mediceo armor. At the beginning of the mission, place a shielded token on this card. Mediceo cape. The sight value of enemies is considered 1 less against you. And Da Vinci's armor. Resistance 2. So he didn't have anything that directly summoned his gadgets. So, let's read how they work. So, These cards can be created the same way as a standard formula equipment card. Once created, a gadget card can be associated with an equipment showing the same gadget symbol. Some of Mediceo's equipment show one or more gadget symbols. Each symbol represents a slot available for the type of gadget. For example, Da Vinci's armor shows 2 armored slots. Therefore, it can contain up to 2 of the armor type gadgets. An equipment card gains any effect or rules described on the gadget cards associated. Consider these effects as if they were written directly on the card equipment card. Gadgets can be associated equipment during a setup. Associated gadget equipment is not permanent. Each setup base associated can rearrange them. Okay, cool. Since that occupies a weapon slot or an equipment slot. So neat. So he gets this extra little thing he can create. Now, this is also cool because they could have other cards in future expansions or whatever that maybe add these in there, but that'd be kind of neat. So on the back, they're just going to show how they get made with their 5 different ones we have. And then we have a spring magazine which goes to a weapon. Spend 1 less to discard a reload token placed on this weapon. The mechanical bayonet. If the minimum range of this weapon is 2, it becomes 1. If this weapon is inflicted at least 1 damage to the target within 1 space, it gains a bleeding token. For our third one for our weapons is we have light metals. The encumbrance of this weapon becomes 1, so you can make a 2-handed weapon into a 1-handed weapon. Steam machine. Immunity hinder. You do not suffer effects from the movement actions. Okay, immunity to hinder, and you not suffer effects from the movement actions. And then we have arm dragging, which has added to a defensive weapon, which gives you an attack of burn. So that's kind of neat. So we do get, if we go back and we look at his stuff, so we can have 2 armor. We only have 2 armor, so you can pick 2 for that one, or 1 for that. So you're not going to be able to have all 3 slots on those. And then the other ones, we have 1 armor for that, or we have 1 attack for that. So basically, we have 3 different damaging ones. You have to pick which one to do. So they are neat to have, but the fact is there's only 1 equipment that has it, and a lot more defensive stuff, doesn't make it as neat, because basically you have to pick which one of your weapons you want. Do you want to be single-handed, extra damage, or extra reload for your gun? I mean, it's neat to select one of those for your gun, but it would have been cool if you had, like, each level had 1 weapon that had an ability to get that, but then that's what it is. It's not that big of a deal. Like I said, then we have his Destiny cards, which we're not going to go over in here. And then the last thing we have for the Nova Aetas is if we want to look at his companion card. So if you're not familiar with companions, I explained at the end of my video for video number part 4 about these stretch goal heroes. But basically, companions can be added into the game. So if you're playing less than 4 players, you can add a companion and take up a spot as an extra character. They're kind of simplified versions. Or you can go ahead and hire them. If you're playing more than 4 players and you're hiring them, they recommend switching up to Nightmare difficulty. But as their stats stay the same, they'll have some abilities and weapons down here they'll always have access to. And then when you pay for them, every time you go to a new rest space and you get them, you have to repay for them. You can get any of the different abilities in any order. So you can either pay 2, you can pay 4, you can pay 6 to get all 3 of them. Or you can pay none and get absolutely nothing. So his stat line is going to stay the same as his main hero card. But he has focus shots. Pay 1. So at the end of your activation, each enemy who inflicts at least 1 damage gains a bleeding token. Relentless. Reaction 2. When you gain a negative status token, you suffer 1 unblockable damage and discard a newly gained status effect. And disengage. Pay 2 to gain 1 dash. This movement does not cause reaction skills, so you can use skills once per action. So yeah, kind of you're selecting him to help you out. Depending on how much florins you can spend. Or what you think you might need. Like, you're not really worried about negative status, but maybe you want him to be able to move around. Focus shot isn't bad, gives him an extra, just ability. Then he has for his weapons, he has Da Vinci's rifle, which is 1-6, pierce and reload 2. The wiggle one, as long as you have less than 2 damage tokens, your attack test gain 2 suns, they gain critical 2. So kind of way to interact this whole Inspire thing is just, as long as he's not dying, he can gain extra critical Q every time he gets some star or some suns. And then leather Mediceo, you gain every activation. If you don't already have one, you gain a shielded token. Which I wonder if that should have actually been. They should have just called that the other one we had. I thought we had one of his armors that gave him one. Oh, it would have been his helmet. Yeah, they should have just called that Mediceo helmet. Instead of leather Mediceo, so I wonder if that was just an error carried over from a different character. But yeah, still, companions are really cool because if you like the idea of this character, but maybe you don't want to play with all the other stuff, you can always add them into your party. So I do find that as a fun extra mechanic of the game. It's a really neat way to be able to play with all the different characters without having to play as all the different characters. All right, then we're gonna look at the Black Rose Wars stuff. Also, I didn't mention he does have his plot book in here for his Destiny cards, so that's in here. So when you need to go read all that extra story in there, you can do that. Then for Black Rose Wars Rebirth, we're gonna get a brand new mage card for him, which follows pretty much all the rest of the mage cards. 11 health, 7 hands, 2 attack, 2 move, and 2 quests. So it's pretty standard. Usually the 11 and 7 kind of switch back between that, or 12 and 8. And then he's going to have his actual spell cards. I'm just going to drop this out so you can see that. His first one is Inspiration. So Contingency has a persistent effect. Each time you suffer at least 2 damage, due to a single effect, gain 1 rose. So if he takes damage, he's going to get it. So I think this is kind of neat because he's not in himself, he's not a mage. He's an inspiration, which is what basically they're calling the Force, more or less. Just a little guy kind of helping him out. But it's a neat thing is, I think, like the Black Rose War game, you could make little cards that just to add every character from Nova Yectus into the game, if you wanted to. Just interesting little, they only need to come up with 1 card effect. His other side is persistent. Each time you inflict at least 2 damage to a single effect, place 1 instability in a room. So if you cause damage, you get stuck. Otherwise, you can, if you take damage, you can get stuck. So that's pretty fun as well. Alright, so that is Mediceo. So yeah, if you have the core set, you pick him up. Now you got an 8th character to play as. Plus there's also some other, I think as of this video, I think there's a total of another 4 non-core stretch goal characters. So you can have a total of 12 different heroes. But of course, we're always going to keep coming out with more, hopefully. Alright, check out the rest of this stuff. See you guys later. Bye.